What's going on, you guys? This is Game Time, part 2 of this. No, actually, this is part 3. I don't know what part it is, but this is Game Time, another follow-up. We're talking about social media in churches and going to the next level. We're talking about strategies, how to do it, just a whole bunch of stuff. So some questions we didn't get to. So this is the second part of that. You got to watch the other episode. We got our co-host here. Who are you?
TS with TS Design Studio.
All right. And we're here today, so we're going to go right back into it. And we're talking about, the question is, what are the components of a social media team for a church? Because we mentioned in last episode, you're talking about the e-pastor, right? Mm-hmm. But what are some key roles that you think people need? So you mentioned the e-pastor, you mentioned a consultant that can come in part-time, but what are some positions and titles that they can ask their congregation to fill?
So this is one of the things that I noticed, and I'm hoping churches don't think about cost right now. Just think about what you need to reach excellence, because that's one of the things we're talking about. Churches need to work in excellence. So one of the main things I suggest is not only do you have the e-pastor, who is pretty much like a program director, then you get yourself a media director, somebody who can control your cameraman, even if you just got one. Somebody who can control the switchboard, and definitely, most important, is your audio. Because your audio, just because it sounds good in your church, doesn't mean it's going to sound good on YouTube, Vimeo, Facebook, however live streaming you're doing. So get somebody who's knowledgeable on video production and audio, and through the grace of God, you get somebody who's good in both. As far as your social media team is concerned, you want to get somebody who understands content. Now, when you say the word content, this means somebody who can produce elements, whether it's graphics and text information or video that tells a story online. You cannot just put any old thing online and expect people to respond. It has to mean something. It has to connect with them. They have to feel it. And it has to be something that they can relate to. So you have to know who you're talking to on social media. So when you say somebody, if they come to you and they just say they do social media, ask them, I don't need nobody just to post something that we give you. Because you can do that yourself. Get somebody who can strategize, have something ready to go for the next 30 days. That 2 or 3 times a week, you guys are posting. You know what graphics are going up. You know what videos going up. You know what text, the storyline of what's being posted is going up.
So you know what? That was a lot. That was a lot of information. It's some people that's not overwhelmed. You just overwhelm the people. They quitting. So I'm gonna break it down, because one element I heard in there is what I keep making up work for you to do. I feel like you should do a training, because if you did a training, like, okay, bring people to Zoom or somewhere who want to be in the media department, your content scheduling people, and have some dummy content or whatever, and say, this is how I would schedule that. I would take this. Did anybody know why I would pick this? Cool. And then that way they get to sit in on what one of those meetings would be like, so then they'll feel more confident in doing it.
That is true, because one of the things is, and I truly hope that churches hear this, your graphic designer is extremely important. Your media director, extremely important. And your program director, which we call our e-pastor, is extremely important. And if you get somebody on social media, make sure they are a writer. They know how to write.
See. Now, that ain't fair, because sometimes people don't have all them skill sets. That means that's like the perfect husband. You ain't gonna have it all, you know? So like, but everybody's not gonna have it all, because there are people who are great graphic designers and editors, not writers. Some who are writers and not this. And I think that's a lot of, because if a person has that much of a skill set, they're not gonna be cheap. If they can do the writing, the this and that, do you think that they can divide it up? Maybe the writer could post for the other one. Have you seen that work?
Yeah. So keep in mind, you're not going to be on the level of multi-million-dollar mega church. You got to get to the point that you're just doing the work.
Yeah,
Remember, at our church, we practice the worship, the work mean the word and the work. So at some point, the work has to take place. So like I said, you're a church, you have members. Take advantage of that community that you have. You just don't have members. Just the only thing they do is just worship, and then they go home.
Hey, do that again. Do the worship again. Do it again.
The work.
Do it again.
Put them to work. And that becomes, now your members are valuable to the kingdom.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying? You have writers in there. They're going to school. Most of them are going to school for journalism, this, that, and the other. And we just send them off to corporate America and don't introduce them to the kingdom.
You got to do a training, man. What I keep hearing is, because you know what you're talking about, you do it professionally. And I feel like if you did a solid, like if you just did a training for each component, a media director, this is what this looks like. Content creator, this is what this looks like. If you did those, people would see it. And then that way you at least did the basics. They need more, they can tap you in, they can call me, whatever. But at least show them, because they don't know. They're hearing this for the first time. And let's say I have a person who I think might be good. If they could just watch your training or your thing or come to the thing and see, just spend an hour.
Yep.
I think that would make sense. And then that way you can provide support to the kingdom in a way that ain't killing you. Because if I send my person to your training, the first one is free. It should be free. You come in there and it's just exposing, and you have like 2 weeks of content that you've done. These are the pieces, how long it took. Here's this, this, and that. Any questions? It should just be that.
Wow. Now that's really good. And that's something I can definitely do. In order to achieve this, because I would love to come in with a church that either has the volunteers or even have the professionals in place. But the first thing it starts, your leadership has to believe in that vision.
Right. That's what I'm saying. It has to come from the leader too.
Because our current pastor, who is Pastor Ray Beatty, when Apostle appointed him, Apostle, like I said, you need somebody with some vision.
Right.
He brought in somebody who came from that world. He understood it.
That was huge.
So it was an expectation. And the way he came in, he didn't overwhelm us. Well, this is what how we, he kind of did it in such a graceful way. He met us where we were. He knew that we probably was doing this for a few years, because where he came from, I was watching videos of him. He was that mic. He had, the cameraman was on point. And we was looking, when I was looking at those videos, I was like, for one, I know our media team is not there just yet. We're getting there. So when he came, we just knew his expectations. So he knew how to communicate with us. So even now when we go to him and saying, hey, is it okay if we post this? He was like, you should have been on that. So he's like, oh, he's meeting us. He understands the time.
And that makes so much easier for y'all, because the leader is invested.
The leader is invested in it. So when you come with new ideas and stuff like that, he just he's doing the things in excellence.
I got a tough question for you. You might want to sit on. I don't know you're gonna answer this one. It's a tough one. If you at a church and the leader is against all of this, don't even want to do this type of stuff, like they don't see that this is relevant, should you push that leader or bow out and go somewhere else?
Ooh, that's a leadership class.
I
right
told
there.
you, hey man,
that's a hard one, because I can just give you my experience. It has not worked out for me yet.
Really?
And you have the majority of the team that ready to go, and you'll probably have people in place that within a year or so can get them to what they want. It's just hard because you have people there that's gonna always support the leader. It's nobody. And
so you see, if that leader ain't on board, then it's going
to be some convincing, unless you can get his wife to get in his ear to do some pillow talking to change his mind. But if he's not the one, you can't have the leader against a plan like that, because that changed the whole course of the ministry.
Yeah, or not fully invested,
because he's going to keep distracting other stuff, doing other things, which is going to discourage everybody who wants to grow. Leadership is important, because the one thing that a leader does, a great thing that a leader does, he enhances and brings out the skills in other leaders. And if he's pulling back, he's not activating nobody else's leadership skills. And so that's I'm telling you, Jay, that's I couldn't answer that. We're probably going to have to bring some other leaders in that communicates with the top person. And how does, because that's why I'm thinking in corporate, that's why if the board makes a majority of this decision. But I notice in church a lot of times it's different. Whenever that head, and then a lot of times he has somebody he has to report to. You probably got a bishop or another board that he has to see that's not committed. Yeah, and then so you probably got a new up and coming committee that has all these ideas that come and present.
It's a lot of red tape, it seemed like.
Yeah, and it gets kind of hard because I come in with great ideas. There's been times that, I was right there to sign a contract, and it's like it's a change. Then they downgrade. And a lot of times when they do that, I can't do the job because I need you to do it like this for me to
get the impact.
Yeah, for you can get the impact that I told you that I can give you. Mm-hmm. If you start taking away stuff, I'm not going to be as effective, and then you're going to think the money you spend is a waste.
So here's my question. I'm going to pivot a little bit on this. So we talked about how important social media is to the church and the kingdom and getting people involved. If you switch to these new entrepreneurs, how important is social media to them?
Man, it's almost like priority. Because I think for an older generation who's new to social media, and I battle with it, and I'm in the space. It was safe for me to do the work for people, but for me to be out there to see even my church at the time being more exposed to a lot more people, to the masses, because a lot of times we part of a church, it's an intimate thing.
For sure.
You came in, you turned your soul over, you changed your life, and you get comfortable with just the people inside the church. And we forget that we have to bring more people inside the church. So a lot of times that's the struggle. And so when you're talking about the entrepreneurs and stuff like that, for them to grow, if you just want to be secluded, how is that helping the entrepreneur?
Yeah, I think they're intimidated because the church you just mentioned, they have all these members, all these bodies, right, to be coordinated, and they have money, something like money. But the entrepreneur, it's just them, whatever they selling, and on social media, just post a picture of them smiling. Yeah. Hey, take a picture of this or this. It's pictures and the video, what it is. So what advice on the social media side, give me 60 seconds. If a business owner want to turn their social media around, I'm talking about like a solopreneur. If a solopreneur want to turn their business around, how should they leverage social media? 60 seconds, go.
Boom. First, always know what you're selling. See what's valuable in what you're selling. And talk about how your product or service can touch somebody, help them. Because right now, people are buying.
Hold on. God, dog. You have to get 6 seconds all over again. Hold on. I'm going to bring you right back in. Hold on. So 60 seconds, tell us how a solopreneur can start leveraging social media to make a great impact. Ready, go.
Okay, first, know what your service is and what your product is. Find out the greatest value in that service and product and see how that service or product can connect to your customer, and you have to know how that product will make them feel. Will it make them feel better? How would it make them feel drawn to you? Get a little bit more personal with them. I'm not saying go into all your personal stuff like that, but become a little bit more intimate.
All right, 10 more seconds.
With your client. You see what I'm saying? So when you're producing your graphics and so forth on social media and even talking on social media, connect with them, because more people are buying by the way you make them feel as opposed to how good the product is. And of course, you got to have a good product and service, but always need to keep in mind it's about how you're making that new client on social media feel.
Perfect. That's good. See? So now we know the solopreneurs, they have this free platform and this and that. Do you feel like the entrepreneurs, the solopreneurs, limited funds, should they start on one platform or do all, or is it a hierarchy? What would you say for a solopreneur?
I say start on all so you can see who you're going to catch. Because some people pivot on Instagram. Some people, shoot up on Facebook. Some people grow on YouTube. Once you find out the platform you're good at, then you can work that platform and try to switch up your content a little bit. You see, because some things work on Instagram that probably won't work on YouTube. YouTube, I like to use YouTube for longer content.
Okay, how long should a solopreneur dedicate time in their week in a 40-hour, well, no, in a 7-day week? How much time should they dedicate to content?
If they can post 2 times a week, just starting off, 2 times a week, make sure it's at the exact same time of day.
What about putting it together? So like you saying posting 2 days a week, but how much time should you decide for recording?
At least an hour. Put aside an hour.
An hour a week.
To put
a
your
minimum
content,
a minimum of an hour a week.
Minimum of an hour, but at least try to do an hour.
Okay.
At least, and if you can do 2 hours in that week, that's great. But try to set aside that 1 hour. That way you can put together 2 posts, conceptualize what you're trying to do, and release an hour. Just starting. And then once you start seeing things moving, it might expand because you might get to the point you need help. But just in the beginning, just so you're not, because I don't want to be telling people put 2-3 hours. No, it ain't going to do that.
They don't have the
If
time.
you can at least do an hour of your day for that type of marketing. And if you got an assistant, have them help you.
And what are people, this advice I've heard about post every day, is that realistic for people, you think? Or does that
I've
work?
never saw nobody just starting social media accomplish that goal. Unless you're a young person and that's all you're doing, that's the only people that do. Usually when people posting every day, social media is really, really starting to benefit them. And they got the time because it's now bringing in a revenue for them. But realistically, don't even set that goal that you're going to post every day. Unless you're one of those people that's all you do is on your phone all day. You might as well be posting every day. But most people, if you're actually doing some job or you're actually producing some product, it's statistically you're not going to be able to do that.
It's hard to maintain.
As a solopreneur.
Unless you have a person, you can do more.
Because you only got so much time in a day.
Yeah. Okay. So what last thing, what do you have, or what do you have coming up next? When are you gonna do those things for these people, man? Those workshops talk about. When do you foresee, what month that we can
My
look forward
goal
to
is
it?
to start jumping something off by July.
So in July you see yourself doing what specifically?
Typically I haven't found the main topic, but I should have a basic course. I am starting it off with graphics in ministry. So that's going to be my first. So it's just, that first one is just the importance of graphics in ministry.
That'd be YouTube or in person?
Basically a YouTube thing, and then we can break it down into a Zoom. But then when I do my in-person, it's going to be at least 3 topics because we got to talk about at least media, graphics, and social media. How
many people, what's like, you want an intimate or large? How many people you want at that?
Now, I would like to be a little bit intimate because you can get a little bit more detailed.
How many people you thinking?
That's a great question. Probably 20 people.
20. That ain't intimate.
Probably about 20 people.
20 people ain't intimate.
It ain't?
No. Intimate to me is 10 or less.
10 or less. Okay. Yeah.
Because think about it. If you had like a classroom and it's 20-something people, but 10 or less, that's like you could do 10 or less.
Because a lot of times I talk, you'll get, 50, 100 people in the room.
That is not
and
intimate.
it get a look, and a lot of questions don't get answered. But usually if I got 20 or less, I can answer some
I think
questions.
you should do 2 tiers.
Okay.
I'm on your committee now.
All right.
So if you do 2 tiers, one should be the intimate, and the intimate should be the people who are at the church, who are in the role or want to be in that role.
That's true.
And then that's going to be the more bang. They can come to somewhere like here. They bring their laptop and you talk. This is intimate. It's safe. You can do what you got to do. And even record it. You know what I'm saying? Now, for the masses, the people who are not really committed to doing the work of a church, who want to just learn this, that should be 50, whatever. That's YouTube.
Yeah, that's true.
That makes sense to me because, like, if you're trying to train the kingdom people and they the people who've been appointed, it makes more sense to pour into them. And then if they need additional support, the church can bring you in because you help train a person. And I feel like if you had 6 people in here, that's 6 churches. So 6 churches in the meeting, that's impact.
Yes.
And God will be happy with you.
And I think if we do those trainings and they know that the church is trying to bring forth excellence, I think they'll work harder too.
Yeah, and I think if it's intimate, like my space here, it's more welcoming. You
Yeah.
come in and you got the stuff is on the board, the projector, got music playing. Okay, I'm gonna learn something in here, and then the deliverables are, y'all. We gonna record some stuff, and we're gonna edit it, and we gonna hashtag it, and we're gonna schedule it. So you're gonna leave. Everybody gonna do it. Stand right here, say what you gotta say, whatever you're gonna do, and then do it. How'd you feel about that? And then with the graphics, put a graphic on it. So if you leave in a 4-5 hour period doing that, you'll feel way confident going back to your church. What you think?
I love it. And we need to set that up ASAP.
That makes sense. That's what I'm
it
saying.
Makes sense. That I love the way you just broke that down. And
Yeah.
I am with that.
Yeah, and you can send the video saying it to specific churches. If you have a person, if you're trying to get into ministry, you're trying to bring your church to the digital age, you need to send 2 people that you think will do it to this thing. It's free.
Now, I do have a question for you.
Mm-hmm.
And this is one of the things I want to say that I'm not struggling with it. I'm just a little confused about, and I'm just want your take on it. With social media, with the content, just like I say, you need writers, storylines. You're actually putting people and information about something people take intimate. So I know that you're doing social media work, even at a mega church. What is some of the resistance coming from that you think, as far as when you got the content created or photography and different elements and you go to post? What's the hesitation of different things that you're trying to do to enhance it or boost out? Do you think it's the content or the fear of what information might get out that they don't want out?
I see what you're saying. So I think when I do mine, I'm pretty much, I'll ask, make sure this thing's on. I'll ask, the questions I'm asking is, what did you think about the service? Or I'll say, why do you come to this church? What has it done for you? And it's different personality types. So some people, like, we just had a big church retreat. And people go to my church. Y'all saw me out there. I was like, can y'all come talk about the church on camera? No. I was like, this conference was great. Yeah, it was, but I don't want to get on camera. So you have the shyness that people did not. But it was some was like, it was great. I'm so glad. So it's just that personality type.
Personality thing.
Yeah, so they were, if you catch somebody who just had a great experience, like when they come out of church, talking about why they picked it, or if they're on the ministry, why they in the ministry, what are they proud of, those I found are easier. The harder things I found is testimonies, because testimonies is vulnerability.
Wow. And that's, to me, that's the main. Think about how many people was drawn to Christ from somebody else's experience.
I know, but that's hard. A testimony is hard to capture because you finna tell this, or I had the camera on you. That's why I hate doing this. The testimony is hard because I have to be vulnerable to the entire world. My job might not even know this.
I didn't think
And
about
now
that.
I'm going to say this publicly, and now everywhere I go, people might ask me about this.
I didn't even. I'm looking at the production aspect. I'm not thinking about that vulnerability part, because I'm glad you brought up the testimonies. That's one of the things I would love to capture, because I know that would touch, and that goes into, for example, just recently, my pastor apologized to his wife in front of the congregation.
That's huge.
And he allowed it to be streamed.
That's huge too.
And even from my upbringing, I even went to him. I said, is it okay, Pastor, that we post this? Mm-hmm. And he was like, yes. He was like, and, you know, the people, he said, people can be touched by this. And he was absolutely correct. He was just being obedient to God. And when we posted, over 200, it's almost at 300,000 people have viewed it. And viewed it almost to the capacity, because you can look and see how long they actually sat there and looked at the video. And so that right there is powerful. And it goes back to what you're saying about personality. Could it be that's just his personality? And me, I'm thinking something that huge for a leader to be that vulnerable in front of the camera. It had to be God.
So imagine somebody, they be vulnerable and say they had unprotected sex and they thought they had AIDS, but then God cleaned them up. Who gonna say that, man?
That's true. That's true. And then what church, you got to think churches might censor that too.
Yeah. So that vulnerability,
Yeah.
like if you talk about real stuff like infidelity, you talk about health concerns, you talk about job, you talk about homelessness, like that real stuff, man, to get in front of a camera and say that.
I never, and the funny thing is, because we have the avenue of social media to draw people to the church, it's going to take, and it's good that Pastor Ray did that, it is going to take some people in the body of Christ to do that.
Yes.
Because it is going to draw, because the world, because now you got online ministries, all that, to want to know about God.
Think about this.
They need to be delivered.
The one thing you hear about and you see, I like McDowell, William McDowell.
Mhm.
I Surrender, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
I like him, but when he'll be doing his concert and he'll just get on the mic and start talking about stuff, he'll be like, it was a flesh-eating amoeba in the brain, and then we prayed over them. It was God. I listened to yesterday. He was like, one of the people, the lady, we was praying, she yelled out, she had a brain tumor. It was gone. Went over here. The drummer broke his ankle. We prayed over his ankle. He walked home. That's testimony. But the thing is, right, if someone can share somebody's story, maybe I'll give you another one. Have you ever watched Soft White Underbelly?
No.
You ain't never seen that?
Nah.
I'm about to put you on. Y'all got to watch that when you get a chance. Soft White Underbelly, it's a guy, and he interviews people. They straight ahead. It's a plain background. You can't see him, and he picks like pimps, prostitutes, drug, meth heads, whatever, all the stuff, right? And he tells their story. He asks them like, where'd you grow up? How's your life? He just asks them stuff. And they're just telling their story, millions of views. No fancy stuff. And it's just people being vulnerable, and people like, oh man, I pray they do okay. And you just picking people and just telling their stories. So if church got to that level where, because them street people, they don't care. So if church got to that level where people didn't feel like they had to front and just be just open, because this world is a cruel world. If you're a prostitute, you're a pimp, you already know the world don't like you. So you ain't got nothing to lose. You like the unseen, unforgotten. But church people, it's still this level of I gotta appear this way. But if we did that, then it'll be right.
Now that is a great, definitely send me that information.
Oh, you gonna see it. You gonna see it and be like, man, this
people
is crazy.
forget. Even with me, when I came, I was at a state I needed to be reborn.
Mm-hmm. God, dog it. Man, this thing like 30 minutes. Hold on. Don't say it again. Hold on. Wait. That one, see, that's Old Faithful right there. That Sony be solid. This Canon. So you said what now? Wait,
So
let me bring you in.
When I got completely serious, I came in very vulnerable. There was some things going on in my life. I got to change.
But you didn't do it on camera.
I didn't do it on camera. You're absolutely right.
Right.
Here's my point. We forget as soldiers in the kingdom that we came in as dirt.
Right.
It's a reason why you came to church. Everybody just didn't go for status. Church would just be a country club.
Mm-hmm.
The thing is, because when you come in, and this is even through the Nation of Islam, a bunch of other religions, you come in as dirt, but you be reborn and you get cleaned up. Your whole mind has changed.
Absolutely.
So things start to be better because you want to be better. And so a lot of people forget about the dirt.
Mm-hmm.
And so we tend to look down on the new people who come in you forget, the person that got cleaned up came in and testified. But now we're in this social media age that new person comes in, he understands because you think about how many people you see get on social media and just cry out their problems.
And they talk about them. If you go in there, look at Tyrese. Man, they clowned him. When you vulnerable on social media, it's two people that's vulnerable. Some who really crying out, some for attention, right? So they like, this ain't the place for all of that. But when you with that truth, I don't know. I mean, testimony used to be.
What if Tyree would have did that amongst a fellowship of people there to embrace him and to make him better?
It would have been fine, maybe in person. But when you see somebody with a phone just ranting and venting, I think people don't know, because I feel like do whatever you want to do, but you talking about public opinion. So when you look at the kingdom needs that vulnerability. The vulnerability will attract more people to God.
Yeah.
And social media can be the vehicle, but people have to be willing. Like I was telling my pastor, we have a prayer book, right? And every church has a prayer book to pray with people. I said I would love to interview some people who made up the prayer book, because we know you was in there. We saw your name. You know what I'm saying? I ain't making this up. Your name is in there. So how you doing today? Then, wow, and I told my pastor, I said we was talking about having family prayers. We believe in God for family prayers. And if you willing to write that prayer, we touch and agree and it happens, give us an update.
Now, this is some radical stuff we talking about here.
I'm trying to tell you.
This is some stuff that for a conversation.
It
and
will
I think
happen.
a lot of leaders in the church, if they're open to it, to come up, because this is what I think success and change come from. Mm-hmm. Because when I was growing up, it was in the church, but it was common to have testimony service. Mm-hmm. You see what I'm saying? And we heard some stories doing testimony service.
Right.
And then that person sat there, was open. The saints came and prayed on them. And then they take them to that back room. You want to be a member? Here's your rules and regulations of the church. Mm-hmm. And this is hopefully renew their mind. As churches and stuff start getting bigger and things started changing, I noticed that testimony service kind of went away. And social media, a lot of times, because I even had to tell some of my clients, hey, get off social media. We can see you on the timeline. This is not, you're running a business. Don't get this personal online. And that's the business avenue.
Yeah.
But, I'm just throwing this out there. What if it's a situation that, even on social media, I don't know, you pick and choose what testimonies go up? I don't know. And this is one of them topics that, but I just feel that it's something. And you saw it, and I even read some of the comments when Pastor Ray apologized to his wife, how many people saying, man, I really needed this. This helped me with my marriage, this, that, and the other. And then, you get some other people who probably did that, and people come up to me, hey, I just want to be a part of a brother like you, to do X, Y, Z. Just think how many souls you can attract.
Yeah, what you got
to learn about the kingdom of God. Just
because you're seeing results. I think what has to happen is, if you wanted to keep it anonymous, so if you wanted to put a request in a prayer book or send an anonymous thing, that we can believe God for your situation and we can read it too. There's a brother struggling with da-da-da-da-da-da. We're going to believe God for you and just say it. So you put your testimonies in there and then people say and pray over it. If that comes to pass, come back.
And that is a challenge I'll put forth to a lot of existing media and social media departments in the church. The way you can post that and distribute that through social media channels and make it work. Mm-hmm. Just think the numbers that it would build for your online ministry.
Yeah, and I'll be attached to it, because you always hear, when you look at them people who go to missions in Africa, they be raising folks from the dead. They be casting out demons. It be real stuff. But here in the United States, we like mild. You don't see that. So I feel like if church, with those real testimonies, people had the courage to share it, people would see the power in church. They don't see it because they don't see it. They think it's just this. So people are really changing their lives, but they're just not coming back. And it was a parable about that. Like when Jesus cleansed the unclean, only one came back. Yeah. It's like, why y'all ain't come back? Like, are you embarrassed? You wasn't embarrassed to get it.
And here's another thing. Social media can be extremely important to just get people to come to the ministry events and have ministry events.
Yes.
Because ministry events is ways that you can get more personable with the members in the church, instead of you assuming that this person in the church is bougie, this person is judging you.
Right.
participate in things in the church so you can get to know them. 'Cause they could be going through something.
But
And
people scared, man, because nobody wants to be vulnerable. It's like it's the judgment, it's all of that. So you'll have an event and people will come and they don't. You know what it is too? Oh, I'm gonna add this. You got to hear this. A lot of people are not their full self. So if a person is not their full self, they don't want the mask to fall off. So like when like if you are one way in person, but then outside of church you got OnlyFans, you know, like for real, no judgment. This is what you got, but you don't want nobody to know that side of you, right? And you find the social media people. I don't have social media. I don't be on there. I don't be with my business. Okay. Then a video surfaces, so it's like you different personas.
you said a video surface.
Yeah, it'll be a video of you at the club with some Hennessy, and it's like live your truth, but people feel like I can't be who I am because I'm supposed to be somebody else. And when you like the internet keeps receipts, it keeps you honest. So if you saying you this way, but I remember there was one young lady that was trying to work here, and they interviewed pretty good. And we found the video of her doing some crazy. She had a YouTube channel, doing all kind of stuff. And I was like, this you? Yeah, it's me. Oh, this don't look like LinkedIn. You know what I'm saying? So when these videos come out, people are ashamed. But again, if you be on the front end, hey, before you see anything about it, like on 8 Mile with Eminem, yeah. Just catch me on the front end. I was this, I was that, I'm no longer that, I'm this. But you want to bury it, you know? So people want to be perfect, but I feel like with church, I feel like just the honesty ain't there for the masses. The people, it's a small group that are honest and vulnerable and lay out for the Lord, but a lot of them are just so guarded, they can't even be vulnerable to be seen by people.
Now, it's 2 parts to that. First thing, and to any of your church historians, please give me the information on this, but when did the church be branded as the identity that they're a country club? That, you see what I'm saying? And what I mean by that, when did the church become a place that you got to have this certain air that you can't do this? Because you came into the church for help. Those same people like, I want church doing this, I want the church doing, you know what I'm saying? But when you got to think, the church is the only place that don't ask you for credentials.
Right.
If your family is struggling, need some bills paid, need to eat, you just show up. Mm-hmm. But yet, you don't want no rules and regulations put on you. Why is the people at the church judging? Wherever else you go, you're being judged.
Right.
The church is trying to clean you up and put you in a position of excellence.
It's really
they just want you better. So if you're complaining about being better, you need to get better. Well, I don't want the church to see me. Get better.
Right.
Nobody's looking at you like that. But we all, you might get sister so-and-so. And I'm saying everybody ain't right in the church. You see what I'm saying?
But that goes back to that vulnerable. Nobody wants to show that they're not right.
Yep. And what I've done is, I know it's going to be some people in the church that's going to judge me. But I can't focus on the 2 people that's judging me. And I got hundreds of people in the church that's willing to help me and encourage me. And that goes the same in other aspects in people's life. You ever been, just business-wise, right? And I'm doing a campaign for something. And we spending 30 minutes on what 2% of the people are saying about their product. And you got 98% of the people saying, giving you positive feedback on how to make it better and letting you know, keep going what you're doing. But those 2%, I said, take them and learn from them, but we can't dwell and let them shift the way God is pushing you into. Mm-hmm. So if you feel that everybody's judging you, step back to the side and say, all right, why do I got 98% of the people saying the same thing?
It could be some truth to it. All right, y'all. So we're going to leave it at that. Thank y'all for tuning in. Like, subscribe, give us some feedback. Appreciate y'all.
Cool.